I want to bring in my guest for this hour. Criminal defense attorney David Bruno is joining me. David, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Always a pleasure, Michael.
All right, let's start off by talking about this marriage. All right, one of the issues that I had, and I think it played out a little bit in opening statements, I felt like just the fact of the marriage and the way it sort of was structured, the fact that she was at one point his stepdaughter, was really a point that would help the defense. And clearly the state kind of skirted over it in their opening, but the defense made big hay of it. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would have done exactly what the prosecutor did in his opening. Look, focus on the cleanup. I mean, look, even if this was a domestic violence victim, you would think that the victim of domestic violence would act as such. And when somebody is in a traumatic fight that leads to a stabbing and death, one would think that the defendant, the suspect, immediately calls 911, seeks help, gets law enforcement there, truly, right? But that is not what the defendant did. In fact, the defendant waited 11 hours before police were contacted. And we see the crime scene, and that's what the prosecutor opened to. And that is what this first day of evidence has been, is to show the crime scene, the blood smears, the blood spatter, all the things that are not, there it is right there. Look at that. Yeah. There's towels that the defendant used to try to attempt to clean this mess. And that is not the actions of a victim. That is not what one who was attacked and defended themselves would act and do. And that is why the prosecutor opened the way they did and presented the crime scene evidence the way they did on day one, because now the jurors are going back to their home and they are just picturing that crime scene in their mind. Yeah, and that's one great day for the prosecutor. In
many ways, David, one of the best witnesses for the state is, in fact, the crime scene. As I said, it speaks volumes. The other thing quickly I wanted to touch on was, ultimately, I think mental health is going to become a real issue in this case. Because when you talk about some of the things that she did after what happened at that home, some of it, if the defense does their job right, can be chalked up to perhaps some mental health issues.
Yeah, to your point earlier in another segment about the holds, that hold in the hospital. I mean, that does lend itself to that type of defense, but that's going to have to be done with the forensic psychiatrist or psychologist or the defendant to put that at issue. And her credibility is going to be at issue. Did we talk about that in the Johnny Depp case or what? Yeah. Credibility, corroborating evidence, etc. So her credibility will be at issue whether or not she had a subjective belief that she needed to defend herself as well as objective.
Yeah, she's going to take the stand. It's going to become all about her. All right, David, stand by. We have to take a break. Still ahead.